It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show. I don't wanna get up out of bed. Everything you're doing, not in dead. Yeah. It's J Nolan. Yeah. I don't wanna get up out of bed. Really ain't wanna get up out of bed this morning, man. But everything you're doing, not in dead. Had to get to work. I suggest you do the same. Check. Handle my business like Kyrie Irving, like Kentucky Derby. I be pressing for, crossing over like the sham guard, making moves like it's dance hall, doing numbers like it's Sam Carr, butter rim like I'm Vince Carter. 8-ball in the corner pocket from the space age. I just pimp hard, presidential with the campaign. Got these shoulders digging for the plantain, cooking up like I'm Van Rains, sauce dripping like a canteen. Rappers be dying of thirst. I sent them shots, now they dying to work, shining like diamonds straight out of the dirt. Approach me with caution like baller alert. Chasing my nominal fees, I'm prodigal, gotta get cheese like Domino's pizza. I just deliver the product, I dot my eyes and cross my T's. Yeah, everybody want the recipe. High security, no one get next to me, cutting them off like a vasectomy. Muzzle your dogs, they not in my pedigree. I am longevity, I am integrity, taking my time. I just move steadily, stick to my vibe, protecting my energy, stay with the iron. Don't metal detecting me, all of my enemies gotta get out of my way. Looking for beef, it's a time and a place. Nigga like me tryna hop in the race. They caught me your watch with no time in the face. I don't wanna get up out of bed, but I gotta get the money. Everything you're doing, not in dead. Damn thing funny. Never gon' wait on my bag. Gotta get right, gon' pop my tag. Tryna live life, ain't worried about flash. When the rent due, can't put it on tab. I don't wanna get up out of bed, but I gotta get the money. Everything you're doing, not in dead. Ain't a damn thing funny. Never gon' wait on my bag. Gotta get right, gon' pop my tag. Tryna live life, ain't worried about flash. When the rent due, can't put it on tab. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well this afternoon. Yes, this is going to be a long video. Unfortunately, the boy, he waited it out all the way to damn near 11 o'clock last night to put his amended filing into the docket. Therefore, I was not able to come do that video for y'all last night. Some other people have gotten ahead of me because, of course, mornings I do daddy duties with my own child. So I can't just come, at my own beck and call whenever I want. We got a protocol over here in my household. So, hey man, if you happen to watch people talk about this before, it's all good. If you stay, I appreciate it. All right. But we're gonna get to it nonetheless. And there's a couple updates that have come in the time being, right? So Drake has filed his amended complaint against UMG. A lot of it is pretty much the same. However, there is some redacted parts. They've made a few changes in the verbiage. People expected that whole bot talk thing to not be there any longer. I told y'all from the jump, I expected it to be there. They did rephrase it. They made it a little bit more ambiguous as to who did what. But for the most part, the claims that Drake has on UMG are all the same. It's been updated with, the Super Bowl. It's been updated with the Grammys and some other things. We're going to go through it, but if you haven't already heard it, you shouldn't expect anything crazy, but there is some bullshit in here. I ain't going to lie. You know what I mean? Because I did have time to review it in the meantime. But let's get to it since we already 4 minutes in. All right. Plaintiff Aubrey Drake Graham, or Drake, plaintiff through his attorneys, brings this complaint against defendant UMG Recordings, Inc. Introduction: a single lie can destroy a reputation of integrity, and while it takes years to build a reputation, it could be ruined in 5 minutes. That is a quote from Sir Lucian Grainge that was also in his other piece, right? So they're keeping a lot of this stuff consistent and just changing as they go. We already know a lot of this stuff. In the middle of the night on May 7, 2024, an armed group of assailants drove up to the house. You know what I mean? Like, we already know he's trying to position himself as the ultimate victim. His house was allegedly shot. His security guard was allegedly hospitalized. We don't know the results of any of that stuff. But, whatever it is, healing to the security guard, right? Drake was in fear. He claims all of these different things. We don't have to go through stuff that we already know. Okay. So people trying to cause him harm on May 9th, the very next day, another break-in attempt happened. So he had a rough 3 days. And unfortunately, with these, trespassers, for some reason, he's trying to rope this into some sort of conspiracy from Kendrick Lamar and UMG. I don't understand how you try to make that a thing, but he's basically trying to say that due to the song "Not Like Us" coming out, it put a target on him for public harassment. Okay. Here they say UMG is the world's largest music company, and although the music company that has, and also the music company that's represented Drake for more than a decade, yet on May 4th, they approved, published, and launched a campaign to create a viral hit out of a rap track that falsely accuses Drake of being a PDF and calls for violent retribution against him. Of course, that song is Not Like Us. Even though UMG enriched itself and its shareholders by exploiting Drake's music for years and knew that the salacious allegations against Drake were false, UMG chose corporate greed over the safety and well-being of its artists. So he's basically saying they put Kendrick Lamar up to this. They knew what was going to happen. They supported it. They financially supported it. And they knew that it was going to completely ruin him. And despite the good working relationship that he thought they had, all of that came crashing down. Okay? More sob stories. The song in question is Not Like Us, written and performed by Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, professionally known as Kendrick Lamar. The recording was intended to convey specific, unmistakable, and false factual allegation that Drake is a criminal PDF, and to suggest, here they do some redlining, so this is where the amendments come in, the changes, suggest vigilante justice as a response, right? So they actually made the language here stronger. They went from suggest that the public should resort to vigilante violence. They just said to suggest vigilante justice as a response. As in, Kendrick told people through this song to go fuck him up. I don't recall that being any of the lyrics, but, whatever. The recording is defamatory because its lyrics, its album image, and its music video all advance the false and malicious narrative that Drake is a PDF. The lyrics repeatedly accuse Drake of engaging in criminal acts, including by calling him a certified PDF and a predator who needs to be placed on neighborhood watch. The image was designed to reinforce, and in fact reinforces, that accusation by depicting Drake's actual Toronto house covered in icons known to be used by law enforcement as well as public safety applications like Citizen to identify child as offender residences online. The video, here we get some more redlining, created weeks after the song became a viral hit. I'm glad you recognized it became a viral hit, you sorry motherfuckers. Let's keep it there for a moment. A viral hit. Not a fake hit, not a botted hit, although the bots are still here later. It was designed to reinforce the same false factual narrative by, for example, showing images associated with trafficking and juxtaposing the game of hopscotch with lyrics accusing Drake of trying to strike a chord and is probably a minor. Okay, they say this lawsuit is not about the artist who created Not Like Us. They make it very clear that they're not going at Kendrick Lamar, although his lyrics and everything surrounding Kendrick Lamar are all peppered, salted, and lemon peppered all throughout this motherfucking lawsuit. This shit is like a wing stop on crack. Okay? Again, we know most of this. UMG, the music company, decided to publish, promote, exploit, and monetize allegations that they understood to be false, but not only false, but dangerous. Okay, they say UMG knows Drake is not a PDF, all right? That's what they're explaining here. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible without overdoing this, okay? Because this could easily be a 2-hour video, and I would hope not. Notwithstanding its knowledge that the allegations are fabricated, started in May of 2024, UMG waged an unrelenting campaign to spread the recording, image, and video as widely as possible. They did so because they understood that the recording's inflammatory and shocking allegations were a gold mine. Spreading the defamatory material served multiple business purposes for UMG. First, the more people who listened to, streamed, and watched and downloaded the defamatory material, the more money UMG and its executives would make. That's with any and all records released from their enterprise, but I guess that's now a crime. Second, UMG's Interscope Records owns Lamar's entire back catalog of recorded music. The leadership of Interscope had every incentive to prove it could maximize Lamar's sales after only recently persuading him to enter into his own direct license for a limited recording commitment of new music. Okay? Remember, this was brought up before. Kendrick and Interscope did a quick deal basically saying, hey, license your future work, because I guess his contract was up. They said, come do a short-term situation with us, put out some music, see if you still want to be here. And he says they struck gold with this battle. You know, he's basically trying to make it seem as though everybody involved lined him up. Okay. Third, in contrast with Lamar's first direct deal, UMG's contract with Drake was nearing fulfillment. And on information and belief, UMG anticipated the extending of Drake's contract would be costly. By devaluing Drake's music and brand, UMG would gain leverage to force Drake to sign a new deal on terms more favorable to UMG. Once again, this is the problem. All of this other stuff is just a means for him to get whatever it is that he wants, if he could possibly get it, right? This should have been the first order of business for them, but of course they want to downplay it. Drake was up for renegotiation. He got bodied in front of the world, and UMG said, hey, you just took a loss in front of the world. We're not going to pay you what we gave you last time. You are on the downslope. Drake says, I'm going to show you a downslope, bitch. Come down this road with me. Okay? And here he concedes UMG's campaign was successful, once again playing the victim. The recording cloaks cleverly dangerous lyrics behind a catchy beat and inviting hook. Capitalizing on those attributes, UMG used every tool at its disposal to ensure that the world would hear that Drake likes him young. Unlike any other song ever released by Kendrick Lamar, this song has been played many billions of times, and its false central message has calcified into accepted fact via social and legacy media channels broadcast in dozens of languages to, at minimum, hundreds of millions of people spanning the globe. It is not just fans of rap music who now believe that Drake is a certified PDF, because it is not just fans of rap music who have been repeatedly exposed to the song's lyrics. Instead, the recording has become ubiquitous in significant part because of UMG's deliberate efforts designed to accomplish just that. So here we go. He's trying to downplay Kendrick Lamar's impact in mainstream music, trying to downplay the fact that he's multi-platinum. He's got one of the biggest singles ever with Humble. Trying to downplay the fact that he also is an artist who's known for selling anywhere between 250 to in the upwards of nearly 500,000 copies first week, such as himself. But in any effort to make him look smaller, they try to say, well, this is the first time he's ever gotten this much attention on a song, right? By defaming me and by UMG colluding to make this happen, allegedly, in terms of Drake. They say UMG uses promotional resources and exclusive licensing rights to place the record on numerous nationally televised events, including but not limited to award shows, national political events, and more. But billions of plays and ubiquity were not enough for UMG. Long after UMG knew about the harm that Not Like Us had caused to Drake, of course, that would be his ego more than anything, and with full understanding that countless listeners have interpreted the song's lyrics and imagery to convey assertions of fact, UMG made significant financial investment and leveraged its professional connections via sophisticated and highly organized publicity campaigns to arrange for the recording to be performed at one of the most significant and viewed cultural events of the year, as in the Super Bowl, okay? Now remember, in his motions of opposition to UMG's motion to dismiss, they started talking about the Super Bowl, they started talking about all these other things, the Grammys and all that stuff. Now it has officially been placed in his lawsuit, in his complaint, right? So they said the recording was performed during the 2025 Super Bowl, and broadcast to the larger audience for a Super Bowl halftime show ever over what? To the largest audience ever. Okay. Over 133 million people, including millions of children and millions more who had never before heard the song or any of the songs that preceded it. It was the first and will hopefully be the last Super Bowl halftime show orchestrated to assassinate the character of another artist. So they're basically trying to say, out of all of the fucking songs that Kendrick Lamar performed, because he performed Not Like Us, they are now saying, and this is stuff that's been echoed from the DJ That Don't Spin and others, where they say, well, his entire Super Bowl performance was just a shit on Drake. Despite the fact that he performed songs that had nothing to do with Drake. Interesting. UMG is legally responsible for the release, publication, and promotion of the defamatory material, including the foreseeable consequences of the same. UMG's business is to possess the exclusive rights to reproduce, to distribute, and to license music, including over the internet. Moreover, UMG retains the right to refuse to publish works based on content to which it objects, including material that UMG deems to be defamatory. Okay? So again, they're saying that UMG should have exercised their veto power to say, Kendrick Lamar, you're not dropping that song on our watch. We just allowed Drake to say that you're a woman beater and that your child ain't yours, that your girl is sleeping with your homie and she need protection from bodyguards like Whitney Houston. But nonetheless, we allowed him to say that. You cannot say anything in response. This is too scathing. We are in the business of Drake. Okay? That's what he wanted. He wanted them to step up and say, I don't care what he said. You can't drop this song. And because it didn't go that way, he is now doing everything in his power to discredit Kendrick, UMG, and anyone else that financially benefited from this, to say, y'all did this to me deliberately. Okay? In other words, it is only with UMG's explicit approval that the defamatory material could have been released in the first instance and later streamed, shared, performed publicly, and exploited by content creators on TikTok and Instagram. UMG's campaign went well beyond the traditional music company playbook. Indeed, UMG has unleashed every weapon in its arsenal, even trying to use words like weapons in the arsenal. Again, trying to incite war, including on information and belief certain practices that are unlawful. In a memorandum to staff reflecting on highlights of 2021, Sir Lucian Grange remarked that it was harder than ever for artists to break through the noise, as, for example, 60,000 songs. I don't give a fuck about this bullshit. Y'all are two of the biggest artists in the music industry. Y'all have no problem cutting through to the fans. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not reading this bullshit section. I'm sorry. Deception, all this bullshit. Predictably, millions of people who listened to the recording or saw the image and video believed the defamatory material to be true. UMG had previously published Lamar's song Euphoria, which was also widely understood to be targeted at Drake. Nigga, man, come on, man. Y'all was engaging in a battle. Shut your bitch ass up. Don't put me in your next filing, though. And which stated, don't tell no lie about me, and I won't tell truths about you. As voluminous public commentary confirms, the average listener or viewer has understood the defamatory material to reflect factual assertions about Drake rather than art or hyperbole. Moreover, the lyrics of Not Like Us leave the unmistakable impression that they are based on additional facts not disclosed to the listener, but that might be revealed at some future point in time. In the words of one commentator, the recording's false lyrics have made it such that everybody believes that Drake loves touching children. And this here is exactly why I know some people wish that I would just like come out and brazenly state that Drake is a PDF or Drake did this or that. Every time that I speak about Drake, I say allegedly and things of that nature. This is why it's very key. Even if you do believe certain things, it's not in your best interest to say those things online on public record, because stuff like this, he can now assert in his lawsuit that everybody believes he loves touching kids. But how could you possibly, I don't know, what you say is how many billions of people on earth now? Over 3 billion? You mean to tell me that every single human that resides on this dear planet believes Drake is into that? Come on. UMG's greed yielded real-world consequences, as described above. It was just 3 days after UMG originally published the recording and image that Drake was targeted at his Toronto house. Fuck that. They start comparing him to Weinstein, Diddy, and Epstein, although he put Epstein in his own fucking song. The mob-like response to the recording continues to unfold on and offline. At one point in time, flyers were plastered all over Toronto with a photo of Drake and a Canadian YouTuber who was sentenced to 3 years in prison for SA with the words, "Canadian predators gotta stick together." As if UMG posted that themselves. They're saying that they made it safe for people to do things like this. The public response re-intensified following the 2025 Grammys and Super Bowl. Here we get more updated context here, both of which featured the defamatory material. Each of these prestigious and high exposure events introduced new listeners to the recording, causing even more people to be duped into believing that Drake was a PDF. Not only did streams of the recording increase significantly following these two mega cultural events, but threats against Drake and his family did as well. Now, are you telling me that because of the Super Bowl and because of the Grammys, Drake continued to experience threats? I would love to see those updated threats reflected in here. Okay? With the palpable physical threat to Drake's safety and bombardment of online harassment, Drake fears for his safety and his security, such as his family and friends. After attacks on his home, Drake pulled his son out of elementary school. Sir, you moved to motherfucking Texas. But now they're trying to make it seem as if the move to Texas was because he feared for his safety. Right? And you know who he runs up under in Texas for protection. So that gives you even more context as to how he's been playing it. Right? The violence and vitriol directed at Drake was foreseeable. Now they're saying that UMG should have predicted that would happen. The recording falsely accuses Drake of one of the most vile behaviors imaginable and explicitly calls for retaliatory violence and retribution against him. The false PDF accusation is a devastatingly effective method of assassinating someone's character online. When spread virally, the accusation can destroy an individual's reputation and brand in a matter of days. As one expert on conspiracy theories has explained, there's always been a certain amount of salaciousness in these conspiracy theories. Once again, most of this stuff was in his original filing. Okay, now they say UMG understands just how dangerous these allegations can be, because when it comes to allegations against UMG and its executives, they have not hesitated to take legal action against their accusers, okay? So now they start going into others associated with UMG that have been accused, right? Just last year, UMG and Sir Lucian Grange himself were accused. This is facts. Lucian Grange was accused of being, I think, some sexual harassment or something like that. In their words, without the slightest factual basis of aiding and abetting Sean P. Diddy Combs in criminal acts, I believe UMG had to be removed from those allegations. So those wouldn't stand up today, but whatever. Moving to dismiss the complaint against them, UMG and Sir Grange argued that the accusations were offensively false allegations of criminal behavior that would be libelous per se, if not contained with the legal filing. Sir Grange called the allegations against him knowingly and maliciously false and defamatory. Sir Grange also explained that a single lie can destroy a reputation of integrity, and while it takes years to build a reputation, it can be ruined in 5 minutes. And that is why that line is so significant to why Drake has it at the top of his filing because this quote comes from the allegations that were leveraged against Sir Lucian Grange. He says, hey, I've been building my reputation for many years in this industry, and a single lie could possibly take me out. So he's now saying it doesn't feel good, right? You went through this same sort of thing, but yours were actual allegations. This is just a song that's ruining my reputation. This is Drake's position, right? Thus, recognizing that false allegations against him might interfere with his efforts to lead an honorable personal and professional life. Sir Grange promised to pursue those who have made these outrageous allegations against him. So he's saying, when you were in this position, you did everything in your power to silence that issue. I intend to do the same. That's Drake's position, right? In stark contrast, when Drake confronted UMG about his role in promoting allegations of misconduct lacking the slightest factual basis against him, UMG refused to do anything to help. And they say, but you helped Diddy. Allegedly. Instead, UMG continued to republish and promote the defamatory material even after Drake had unequivocally denied the allegations in public and had communicated that in private to UMG. Drake informed UMG of the tangible harm that the publication and promotion of the record had caused him, including violence, threats, reputational, financial damages, and more. Yet UMG still chose money over the safety and well-being of his artists, notwithstanding his public commitment to behaving honorably and with honesty and setting the right tone in all that we do. They continue, and UMG has tripled and quadrupled down on its defamation for profit strategy, even after Drake filed this lawsuit, which detailed the harm to him and his family caused by UMG's publication and promotional activities. So he's saying, y'all don't give a fuck about a nigga like me. Right? Despite all the money I done made y'all, despite all the artists I done did features with, put on and helped out, y'all gonna leave me in the cold? I got enemies, got a lot of enemies. Many months prior to filing this litigation, Drake attempted to address these claims privately with UMG. We talked about this before. Drake believed, per Sir Grange, that UMG's leadership should be held accountable for the decisions we make and how we conduct ourselves, and UMG purports to care about threatening and abusive behavior. Indeed, UMG's code of conduct notes that harassment can take different forms, such as speech that is threatening or abusive, and declares that violence, threats, and physical intimidation are not tolerated at Universal Music, but he's claiming that they've taken exception when it comes to him. Again, I'm not going to just keep reading all this shit that we've already read. UMG's response to Drake was especially perverse, given that it is perfectly willing to sue to protect its own interests when it believes that doing so will protect its property. UMG is engaged in the business of acquiring, administering, licensing, exploiting, and otherwise monetizing the music of its artists, including Drake, and it does not hesitate to file lawsuits when doing so suits its financial interests. This lawsuit is both necessary and appropriate because UMG has repeatedly defamed Drake while exploiting and monetizing his work. So he's claiming that y'all are getting the best of both worlds. Y'all making money off of me, and y'all are enjoying the fruits of shitting on me at the same time. Y'all done turned me into human fertilizer. With his own record label having waged a campaign against him and refusing to address this as a business matter, Drake has been left with no choice but to seek legal redress against UMG. They say UMG has attempted to spin this complaint as a rap beef gone legal. That's what the fuck it is, my nigga. But this, Ernie and Bert, looking at it. But this lawsuit is not about a war of words between artists. This lawsuit involves no claims against Kendrick Lamar or any other artist. Instead, it's about UMG. He said, fuck the artist. It's about you and me. The publisher and exclusive rights holder of Lamar's music, as well as Drake's, and its malicious decision to publish and promote through both overt and covert means. Okay? And we're going to get into that whole overt and covert thing Because everybody was like, oh, they agreed to let the bot talk go. I told y'all weeks ago that shit wasn't leaving. False allegations about Drake that UMG knew were false, explosive, inflammatory, and certain to result in both vitriol and substantial harm to Drake's reputation. Okay? They've had a relationship spanning more than a decade, and UMG sought to turn Drake into a pariah, a target for harassment or worse. Or worse. Basically stating, I could have died and y'all wouldn't have gave a fuck. UMG did so not because it believes any of the false claims to be true, but instead because it would profit from damaging Drake's reputation. Drake thus brings this action to hold UMG responsible for the actual and foreseeable harm he has suffered and will continue to suffer because of UMG's choice to elevate profits over the well-being of its artists and the music-consuming public. We don't need to go over the parties in the lawsuit. We know who is involved. We know the venue. This was filed in federal court in New York. We know the background of this situation, okay? Here is where they play Drake up to be this golden boy, internationally recognized as a multi-talented rap star. His career spans 2 decades, rose to fame in the early 2000s. They go back to his history playing on Degrassi, a history that he hardly talks about today, but one that we all know exists. They say he's one of the world's best-selling music artists of all time. Some of his biggest hits include Hotline Bling, which was a stolen song, and One Dance. Between 2010 to 2024, Drake released 8 studio albums with more than 170 million albums sold, including 244 million singles sold. Drake has had 13 number 1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. Drake's success has been repeatedly celebrated by the music industry. He's been nominated for 55 Grammy Awards and has won 5. Gotta hurt that a man could win 5 in one night. Drake has also won 42 Billboard Music Awards, and in 2021, Drake accepted Billboard's Artist of the Decade. Okay? So they're playing up how significant he's been to the music industry, all of the records he sold, which of course not only benefits him, but also UMG, Republic, and all of his partners. Starts OVO in 2012, a label that's for the most part been very trash. Drake also uses the brand name October Very Own, represented by an owl, for his clothing brand, which will also prove to be significant here. Far more than just label merch, the clothing brand has collaborated with Canada Goose, Canadian retailer Roots, Disney, the NCAA, the NFL, and Supreme. Find it very interesting that you've been so harmed by the NFL, but then you did an NFL collab with OVO and your merch right before the Super Bowl took place. Drake founded a multidisciplinary media production company, Dream Crew, which operates a management company, production house, and content studio. Through Dream Crew Entertainment, Drake has executive produced award-winning documentary films, feature films, and hit television programs for FX, Hulu, Netflix, and HBO, including Top Boy, which has received awards from the British Academy Television Awards, and Euphoria, for which Drake was dissed in a song with Namesake. But outside of that, they got a Primetime Emmy Award nomination. So this goes to show you Drake doesn't just make money off music. I know a lot of people believe that to be true, but he's got production companies that work in TV, film, and other areas, right? As a celebrity with global name recognition, Drake is regularly approached for collaborations, partnerships, and endorsement deals. 2013, he became the global ambassador for Toronto's Raptors. Since then, Drake has inspired new alternate team jerseys, narrated team advertisements, hosted Drake Night each season for several years, pledged charitable contributions. These are all things he did, showing that he is a pillar in the community, okay? Drake's philanthropic efforts have received almost as much attention and praise as his music. That's a fucking lie. Drake has a history of making generous donations and going on charitable sprees in the communities where he shoots music videos and appears on tour. Of course, that would be the God's Plan video. Through his charitable giving, Drake has supported public schools and nonprofit educational programs, community development organizations, homeless shelters. He's the nicest man in the music industry. All right, UMG is a music industry giant. And you know, giants are typically associated with being bad. In its own words, UMG is the world leader in music entertainment. UMG is engaged in the business of acquiring, administering. They already explained this before. Okay? They're the big bad record label, okay? Who just happens to be in business with both Drake and Kendrick Lamar as the big bad record label, okay? 360 deal, of course, known as a master contract, is the most comprehensive. It encompasses traditional rights granted in a recording deal, but also provides the record label with control over or a passive income stream from merchandising, touring, endorsements, and other ancillary ventures the artist may undertake. Of course, a 360 deal means we get a cut of 360 degrees out your ass, okay? Just simple terms. Once Universal Music owns the recording, distribution, and or publishing rights to work, it exploits that ownership through licensing deals with third parties, okay? Those partners include iTunes, Amazon, Apple, Napster, Spotify, TikTok, Meta, which also includes Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp, and Threads. In the event that a person or entity wants to use a song outside of one of those licensed platforms, for example, to play during a political rally or a sporting event, it has to request to do so by Universal, which holds the synchronization contract. That is a fact. A third party cannot legally use UMG's music or recordings, licensed content embodying those records in advertising on a stage, in film, television, or on the radio without the consent of Universal Music. That is also why I rarely get to play any of these artists' songs on my channel, because I'm not whitelisted to do so, okay? I know sometimes people come over here and say, why you didn't play the song? Drake just told you why I don't play the songs, because they're going to come over here and try to bust me over the head. Okay? They also get into the subject of whitelisting in this piece here. Universal Music exercised this control in early 2024 when it pulled its songs from publication on TikTok. Remember that problem that took place last year? Through copyright ownership, Universal can control the unlicensed use of its music, but can also strategically waive or reduce the customary fees it charges for licensing rights to its music to provide for the unrestricted spread of a song. This tactic, known as whitelisting, happens when a copyright holder like UMG permits a user or platform to use its content without charging fees or imposing other limitations. There are some big creators over here on YouTube that are whitelisted by the labels. I just ain't one of them, not yet anyway. In the normal course, internet platforms operate automated content identification systems to block the unauthorized use of copyrighted material by their users. In whitelisting, these automated systems are turned off. Okay? And of course, when it comes to whitelisting, they're going to bring that back into form as it pertains to Not Like Us and songs from the battle that were allowed to be played without punishment from UMG. Right? UMG is the biggest fucking company. I don't give a shit about all that shit. I'm sure you don't either. Okay? Now, UMG's labels like Republic also represents Drake. That is a subsidiary of UMG. He's been with them for a long time. So here we have another part that we've also talked about before. Of course, Interscope being a subsidiary of UMG. So now to get into the executives, including those at Interscope, having an annual incentive program through which they're rewarded for meeting and surpassing sales and profit projections, among other metrics, which every corporate company has. But of course, they're going to try to say that Not Like Us was used to defame him under the understanding that this song would also push them to get these incentives, bonuses, and things of that nature for the outstanding performance. Again, a whole conspiracy, right? So they say, for example, the annual incentive or bonus of Interscope CEO John Janik is based 90% on the financial success of Interscope and only 10% on the financial success of UMG generally. But he's Interscope CEO, not UMG's. The fuck? This division-based incentive structure creates perverse incentives within UMG. So y'all are now questioning the entire incentive program. Who's been reaping the benefits of incentives off Drake's success over there at Republic? Let's put it all on the table then. It's weird, right? For example, through the promotion of the recording and revitalizing impact on what? Whoa! Revitalizing impact on Kendrick's career? Which, again, they're using all of the after effects of Not Like Us. Remember, after the battle, some of Kendrick's catalog, his albums re-entered the Billboard 200 and all that stuff. They're trying to say that, again, this is all part of the plan. Interscope and Interscope executives benefit regardless of the effect on other UMG labels like Republic, which represents Drake. Of course, he's trying to now position Republic as a co-victim alongside him for taking that loss, right? In June 2017 interview, Mr. Janik responded to a question about Sir Grange's encouragement of competition between the UMG record labels by stating, "I love to compete and I don't like to lose." UMG is fully aware that musical content, including song lyrics, can defame third parties and that artistic expression is not free license to harm others. Drake, you should have known that before you started dissing niggas. You've been dissing niggas for what, a decade? But I guess you existed within a vacuum in which none of that should be, explored. On information and belief, UMG's standard long-form exclusive recording contract includes a provision which permits UMG to eliminate material which in UMG's judgment constitutes defamation or libel. Again, they say you should have stopped Kendrick from releasing that record. Now they go into UMG and Drake's long partnership from 2009 up to present. Again, we know of all this stuff, right? The contract between UMG and Drake was up for negotiation last year. Or this year, rather. By the spring of 2024, UMG understood that the rise of streaming platforms had enhanced the bargaining power of artists. Established artists whose contracts are coming up for renewal are in improved position to demand higher take rates due to the improvement in the visibility of cash flows and risk reduction. Again, this is all about Drake's renegotiation. And as described below on information and belief, UMG was incentivized to act, and in fact did act, in a manner to reduce that bargaining leverage in advance of upcoming negotiations and Drake over contract renewal. Again, y'all decided to take me out so that you wouldn't have to pay me more than y'all paid me in our previous deal. Okay? That's Drake's position. Here they get into UMG's licensing and publishing over Kendrick's music, which has been expressed all throughout the paperwork up to this point. I really don't care about this because we've already talked about it. Right? But basically they're saying if they're able to take Kendrick's music and blow it up to astronomical levels, it would entice him to want to do a longer term contract with Interscope and UMG, thus keeping him in the nest. So basically saying they chose favoritism of Kendrick over sustaining the long-term benefits of Drake's oncoming career. It's just that simple. He doesn't know how to not be the number one guy. Therefore, when someone else takes the throne, he comes out kicking and screaming and all of that other stuff. Okay? On information and belief, UMG's contracts with Kendrick provide UMG same right as in its standard long-form exclusive recording contract to eliminate material which may constitute defamation or libel. Again, they should have stopped him specifically. Okay? They come back to UMG pushing the button on Not Like Us, allowing it to go out to all of these different platforms. Okay. Since defendant's initial publication of the recording, the song has been streamed over 1.4 billion times on Spotify alone. Of course, they say in the song, he's accused of criminal acts, including PDF activity, and that he should be registered as a SO. Within the first minute of the song, the recording identifies Drake by name and states that Kendrick has heard, albeit from undisclosed sources and concerning undisclosed individuals, that Drake has a predilection for underage women. To say Drake, I hear you like I'm young line. The next line is a thinly veiled threat that Drake should be fearful that he never ends up in prison, a place where child predators are notoriously the targets of violence. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1. The recording continues to say that any woman who falls in love with Drake should be careful to hide her little sister from him. Boy, if this ain't embarrassing. Every time I look at this shit. Next, in a perverse reference to Drake's 2021 album, Certified Lover Boy, Certified Lover Boy, Certified P-Fal. In a play on the dual meaning of minor, a person under the age of 18, and a musical scale, the recording says that Drake is trying to strike a chord and is probably a minor. Later in the recording, Lamar describes Drake as Malibu Most Wanted. For me, it's under information and belief that Drake and his lawyers must have never seen Malibu's Most Wanted. Because the main character, B. Rand, was a rich white kid from Malibu that wanted to portray himself as a gangster rapper, tried to portray himself as street thorough. Nowhere in that movie was he under investigation for being a PDF. So again, y'all don't even have the context of what you're quoting correct. The recording continues to say that Drake and the people in his circle need to be served with a subpoena because a predator moves in flocks, and asserts that Drake's name got to be registered and placed on neighborhood watch. Here we go to the what, where he says this is a physical threat. The recording also repeatedly suggests that violence should be used against Drake because he is a PDF, like the sound of someone being beaten up. The recording repeats wop, and then says Lamar will fuck him up. Which again just sounds crazy. Oh, y'all fixed some things. Later, the recording threatens that if Drake comes to Oakland, y'all had where Lamar grew up, which was a heinous mistake, he will not make it out alive. I think that Oakland show gonna be your last stop, nigga. They don't quote nigga. Okay, so this is all of the bars from Kendrick's song that they're quoting in the lawsuit to make this seem like criminal threats and informed allegations against Drake that have smeared his name and sullied his reputation. Okay? Here they get into the Not Like Us being used on Google Images, Apple Music, artwork, right? Using Drake's house. We already know this stuff. Who gives a fuck, right? Not so much as in who gives a fuck about the situation, but who gives a fuck because we've talked about it at length already. Okay? Allegation against Drake are unequivocally false. This is where he gets into never having been accused, indicted, convicted of any charges of such a nature. Okay? He says he's never engaged in an inappropriate romantic or sexual behavior with a minor. Okay? The recording provides no evidentiary support for its defamatory allegations, all right? They say the recording's allegations are based entirely on undisclosed fact and expressly refers to such undisclosed facts as described above. Here, the recording and image, people believe and repeat the allegations. So here is where they go ahead and reinsert that so many people believe that Drake is in fact a, PDF. Okay? The recording's allegations about Drake were understood to be factual assertions against him from the moment UMG published it. Whatever generalities might be applied to hip-hop tracks in the abstract plainly did not hold here, as evidenced by the commentary that appeared online and in social and legacy media channels. As soon as UMG published the recording and image, countless posts and comments reveal a widespread public perception that the recording and image convey factual allegations made against Drake. So again, here they're stating that this goes well beyond the creative license of hip hop songs to exaggerate or, come up with creative lyrics. They're saying that this is all believed to be true, right? So here they start quoting users from social media and their commentary on the song as their evidence or references to the people that believe this to be true, not noting that these people could also be trolls, that these people could just be spewing horse shit out their ass to get attention on social media. I don't think this stuff is going to be all that admissible, but I'm not a legal professional to say so, right? And they actually tell you who these people are. Mr. Wright 84939. YouTube comments. YouTube comments. See what I was saying earlier? As one user put it, this isn't a diss, it's the truth. The culture isn't just not fucking with Drake, it's correcting itself by kicking out these predators, Drake, Diddy, etc. Another user wrote that the recording is telling the truth about Drake being a pedo. Another commenter posted, Drake has more than 800K dislikes on that song because everybody believe he touching kids because we have evidence everywhere. Literal social media mumbo jumbo. The fact that the allegations came packaged in rap lyrics did not dissuade listeners from erroneously believing the allegations to be true. For example, this person here says, I love this song. We would have never known Drake is a whole PDF if this information wasn't exposed. Respect and love you, Kendrick, for keeping it 100. From your tone, anger, and passion behind your words, there's no doubt on my end that Drake is indeed a PDF. Moreover, any reasonable listener would have understood that Kendrick Lamar was claiming to know more information about Drake than he disclosed in the recording's lyrics. The public noticed and commented on this unmistakable message. Bro just exposed Drake of running with pedos and offenders. I don't know. I don't think Kendrick is dumb to make false accusations. I don't want to assume without proof, but shit, it ain't looking good for Drake. Like, I feel like he's still holding some shit back and ain't saying everything he knows about Drake. Other users echoed. A whole bunch of social media bumbo. And this is the amendments. So they standing all 10 toes down. Okay? Plus, they've got all their owl claws down too. Okay? Many listeners focused on the rabbit hole still deep. I could go further. I promise line. Okay? Implying that there was more to be disclosed. It's craziness, man. Wow. I really don't want to read all this bullshit. Because that's literally what it is. Just YouTube comment. Look at this shit. Comment, Kendrick Lamar, not like us, YouTube. You get what I'm saying? So that just goes to show y'all consuming this video just as easily as the creators that have found themselves under the microscope of this lawsuit. Y'all are also under the microscope of this lawsuit. Not y'all specifically, but you could easily be used when it comes to what they're trying to prove, the point that they're trying to prove. It's craziness. Again, I don't feel like reading all of this bull stuff. Right? Drake uses this here. I bet he touches Adonis too. So somebody came out and said that they also believe that he would
do the same to his son. Just whole grain horse shit. You feel me? And they're trying to use this stuff as admissible evidence for the courts. I'm still scrolling through this shit. Here we get into this article that was published about the beef, and it talks about the psychological state of people who are blindly um believing this type of stuff. According to Mike Rothschild, expert of conspiracy theories, people lose their mind and just believe all this crazy shit from social media. These are the type of games that they're playing. Drake is the target of violence almost immediately. They're going back to the same shit that they've already cited 3 times. Drake publicly denies the defamatory material. So this goes to show you that the Hart Part 6 was a strategic move rather than an actual response to the beef. On May 5th, 2024, just a day after UMG published the recording and image, Drake denied all of the allegations in a song called The Hart Part 6. Drake explained that he has never been with no one underage and that his name is not on the SO list. Despite being able to contact Drake, UMG did not ask Drake or his representatives to discuss his denials of the allegations contained within the defamatory material. Okay? So the Hart Part 6 was not actually aimed to be a battle entry against Kendrick Lamar. It was only just a public farce, a public showing for him to negate the so-called allegations on record so that he could ultimately submit this lawsuit. Craziness. UMG continues to defame Drake by publishing Not Like Us music video. This is an interesting comment here that they put here from Twitter. This person here says Kendrick didn't lie about anything. You fed misinformation for him to expose you having a fake daughter, but he still smoked and broke you down for being into underage girls, being addicted to pills, your camp having SAs, and also you having gambling problem, which are all true. And one is subjective, the gambling. You're spiraling more and the fart 6 ain't it. Damn, Sultan of Solana really went crazy on you. Here they get into UMG publishing the video. UMG did so with knowledge of the actual violence and threats that ensued. So they're saying after Drake's house was allegedly shot and was also allegedly attacked by trespassers, they say UMG knew that he was under this duress and continued to support Kendrick Lamar in a public onslaught of his character. Right? Then they get into the specifics of the lyrics again with screenshots, stuff we've already talked about. The storage containers also associated with trafficking. We get into Kendrick Lamar beating the shit out of this Al Pinata, which is hilarious that you would ever use some shit like that. In conclusion, the video depicts a prolonged shot of a live owl in a cage. The meaning is clear. Drake belongs behind bars. And of course, that shoots back to earlier when they said that Drake uses an owl as his mascot for OVO. Of course, the owl, right? On information and belief, each of Sir Grange, Mr. Janik, and Mr. Monty Littman and Mr. Avery Littman played a key role in the initial publication of the video, either in directing or approving the publication and or failing to prevent its publication. Again, they did not exercise their right to veto Kendrick's creativity. Here they say the video causes more people to believe the allegations against Drake. Just as with the publication of the recording and image, as soon as the song was published, people began expressing belief in the allegations against Drake. Posts reacting to the video, also numbering in at least the hundreds of thousands, are indistinguishable from those reacting to the recording and image. Users again confirmed their belief in the allegations and that the allegations were based on some facts known by Lamar, but yet undisclosed to the public. The Cage Owl got me truly believing Kendrick no Drake going to prison possibly. Others commented, we have an anti-PDF anthem about time. No justice for guys like Diddy, Epstein, and Drake, and all the victims they caused, much less the Johns. Here they double down on anti-Semitism, but this is towards the social media users. So now they're not saying that Kendrick is anti-Semitic. They're basically saying social media users are anti-Semitic again. So if you go online and post your opinion or post what you see as a joke or post, what people call shit posts, you are now at the liability of being used in these sorts of legal filings. This person here says, I'll say it, then Jews are colonizers. That's who Drake represent. I don't even want to go through more of that shit. You know what I mean? For somebody to say that's my words. Again, these are YouTube comments from the Not Like Us music video. Users again threaten Drake's safety in comments. Drake better come with Secret Service type security if he plans on going through LA. And even then, that might not be enough. Right? The spewing of hate against Drake has not been limited to social media. The public has leveraged multiple other platforms to repeat the lies and the defamatory material. For example, users have edited the address that appears on Google Maps and Apple Maps at Drake's Toronto address to read, PDF lives here and he touches little girls. In the summer of 24, users updated the description of Drake's Toronto address in a rideshare application such as Uber and Lyft. Users have edited the address to read, Drizzy touches kids, Drizzy's fun time chamber, and A minor, which definitely does go well beyond fan activity. I must admit, doing stuff like that doesn't help. That has nothing to do with Kendrick. It has nothing to do with UMG, but they're trying to make it their business, right? UMG published this stuff with knowledge of the reckless disregard and falsity of the claims. Again, just a bunch of fodder here. UMG directly knows what harms can arise from such outrageous allegations of criminal activity. Again, they reiterate how Lucian Grange and other people from UMG have been under similar allegations. Here they say UMG engaged in a publicity campaign to ensure the maximum spread of Not Like Us and deceiving consumers. Okay, since the initial publications on May 4th and July 4th, UMG has utilized every weapon in its arsenal. Once again, they use that term to ensure that this song spread to maximum extent possible around the world to defame Drake. They say they use social media to promote it and marketed the record's popularity to consumers. Here they update the amount of spins and attention that the record has garnered on social media. Right? UMG has a social media following of 2.2 million on YouTube, 997,000 on IG, 713,900 on X, 622,000 on Facebook. As of the date of this filing, Interscope has a social media following of 948,000 on YouTube, 769,000 on Instagram, 557,000 on Facebook. Okay, just to show how widespread their reach is to promote such a defamatory, allegedly, song. Okay, June 9th, Interscope reposted a tweet bragging that Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us became the fastest rap song to reach 300 million Spotify streams in only 35 days. That is pretty fucking massive. 300 M's in 35 days. Damn. On June 20th, 2024, UMG posted a carousel of photos and videos to its official IG of Kendrick performing the song at the Ken and Friends Pop-Out Juneteenth concert, during which the recording was played 5 times back to back. UMG captioned the post, "History was made." Okay? While Lamar performed many songs during the concert, UMG purposely chose to highlight the recording and to describe it as historic. I mean, why would I not acknowledge one of our biggest artists just had a huge fucking concert, impromptu Juneteenth concert in the middle of his community? Had you not canceled OVO Fest, y'all would have been just as big. Maybe not just as big, but you know what I mean. So they're just getting into all the reposts on social media that the labels have engaged with, and the amount of views, the millions of views that they've garnered. All this stuff, you know, it's whatever. On its YouTube channel, Interscope curates playlists of recommended videos for fans. As the date of this filing, the video is still featured on the label's music video playlist. Of course, you see Casey Musgraves, Gracie Abrams, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Imagine Dragons, Not Like Us is right there. So they're saying they're still continuing to promote this song via YouTube playlists. On November 8th, following an extensive publicity campaign launched and managed by UMG, the Recording Academy nominated the song for several Grammy Awards, including the top awards for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Performance, Best Rap Song, and nominated for Best Music Video. At the time it undertook this promotional campaign on behalf of the recording, UMG understood that winning any, let alone many, Grammy Awards would expose the defamatory material to new audiences, including potentially millions of new listeners around the world, resulting in substantial additional harm to Drake. So here we are, they're bringing the Grammys up close and personal, under scrutiny, right? And y'all remember, before Kendrick came out, they played Not Like Us. They played the actual lyrics. Niggas was in the crowd jamming to it, all this stuff. If you've recently gone back and watched those videos, you'll see Not Like Us was removed. I would assume this is why, because they're now being placed under scrutiny for supporting him on such a large platform with what he is acknowledging or trying to label as defamatory content, low-key hate speech, right? Following the Grammys, Interscope and UMG published celebratory posts about the success of the recording. All this stuff. Let me make sure I'm not missing nothing significant, that is. May 13th, Ramon Alvarez Smickle, Interscope's executive vice president, head of digital marketing, reposted the next post from Billboard charts showing the top 10 Hot 100 songs. Among them was Not Like Us at first place. February 25th, 2025, LinkedIn post Jessica Statz, the vice president of international digital strategy of Interscope, shared, "Big week for all of us on Team Kendrick," and linked to a Billboard report of the recording streaming milestones and placement on the Billboard Hot 100. UMG used its ownership interest to promote the defamatory material. When UMG first acquired its stake in Complex, didn't know they had ownership of Complex, Mr. Janik commented that the partnership will give our artists access to a dynamic network to deepen connections with superfans through unique collaborations and cultural moments. So now you're trying to say that they also conspired with Complex to destroy you? Yep, between May 5th, 2024 and the date of this filing, Complex has published at least 70 articles about Not Like Us and posted the recording hundreds of times across its website and social media accounts. So now they're saying Complex is doing their bidding as well. Okay. July 5th, Complex published an article entitled Decoding Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us video. And, going through the references in the video. They say the public should understand the allegations against Drake, the allegations contained within the defamatory material. They go into Vivo supporting. UMG granted licenses to promote the defamatory material. This is where you get into UMPG, which is the publishing division of Universal, also using Not Like Us, allowing companies, corporations, and others to license the song for their own media purposes. UMG further promotes the recording for licensing, all that good shit. So we got it. Here they get into the song's usage in the pop-out performance. June 19, 2024, the record was performed 5 times in a row at the pop-out to a crowd of approximately 16,000 attendees and a live stream that had over 186,000 viewers on Amazon Prime Twitch, right? The live stream broke Amazon's streaming record for the most minutes watched out of any production they've released. In the 3 days following the pop-out concert, Kendrick Lamar received nearly 61 million combined official on-demand streams. The recording represented approximately 21 million of those combined streams, a 62% increase from the 3-day period preceding the concert. The republication on June 19th and its subsequent republication on streaming platforms reached more than 21 million people and could not have occurred without UMG's explicit permission. All right. They go into TikTok and all of this other bullshit. Over 1 million reels on Instagram have been used or created using Not Like Us. Song's been viewed over 2 billion times. Song's been played and broadcasted on television coverage during MLB, NBA, and the WNBA. Also played it during the ESPY Awards. They get into Kamala Harris using the song for her presidential campaign. California Governor Gavin Newsom also played the song. LA Dodgers World Series. It's a lot, man. The recording and video were some of the biggest winners of the night at the 2025. They bring the Grammys back up. UMG conferred, on information and belief, UMG conferred benefits and leveraged existing business relationships to secure Grammy nominations. Oh, wow. So you're saying that they cut side deals or asked for favors to make sure that Kendrick won at the Grammys? Are you sure that's the angle you want to go? That's pretty heavy. During the 2025 Grammy Awards, the recording and video won all 5 categories for which they were nominated. Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Song, Best Music Video, and Best Rap Performance. During the ceremony, defamatory portions of the recording were played to the live audience and televised to over 15 million viewers. Remember, I told you, I mentioned this before. The recording could not have been played and broadcast during the award ceremony without UMG's consent. Again, they're saying UMG colluded with the Grammys in order to play it, just to put extra smut on his name. The original broadcast of the Grammys showed the audience singing along to the recording, but in the video of the award ceremony posted to the Grammys YouTube page, that portion is excluded now, but it wasn't before. After the recording won Record of the Year, Sir Grange high-fived and hugged Lamar's longtime executive producer and musical mentor Andre Ramel Young, known professionally as Dr. Dre, while the recording played. High fives are now illegal. On the Grammys' official YouTube page, the clip featuring this high five does not contain the original audio of the recording. It's been edited, right? Just a week later, February 9th, UMG facilitated a live performance of the recording during the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show in New Orleans. On information and belief, UMG conferred financial benefits on the parties in charge of the Super Bowl performance and leveraged existing business relationships to secure the headliner spot. So they're saying that Kendrick Lamar only got this opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl because UMG leveraged their personal relationships with the NFL, Jay-Z, etc., rather than them genuinely being interested in him performing just based off of his own musical integrity and his musical performance on his own merit. It had to be connected to Drake, because without Drake, Kendrick Lamar is just some lowly artist we've never heard of, never listened to, never seen his music videos. He never won any Grammys before 2025. Kendrick Lamar never made history. Kendrick Lamar never sold millions of records. He was just another nigga, right? According to Drake. As of this filing, the Super Bowl performance is viewable in full on NFL.com as well as NFL's YouTube account. So, of course, at this point, he's wondering, why have y'all not taken that song out? UMG promoted the Super Bowl performance on Interscope social media, including by reposting advertisements by the NFL, Apple Music, and Touch Tunes on X. On TikTok, UMG posted Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl with the recording playing and the caption added February 25th with the GOAT. Oh yeah, we know that GOAT thing hurt your feelings. The version of the recording performed during the Super Bowl performance was modified to exclude the word PDF, but no other modifications were made. On information and belief, Kendrick Lamar would not have been permitted to perform the Super Bowl performance unless the word PDF in the phrase certified PDFs was omitted from the lyrics. That is because nearly everyone understands that it is defamatory to falsely brand someone as a certified PDF. No, nigga. You following through. So you think it had nothing to do with the FCC? You think it had nothing to do with the fact that the radio doesn't play that line either? So why would he be able to say it on TV? So you're saying they took the PDF bar out because it was defamatory, not because it went against FCC violation. You think we stupid. Oh boy, this is exhausting. Notwithstanding that apparent consensus, UMG continues to publish the recording absent the censoring that even Kendrick Lamar deemed acceptable for the Super Bowl performance. Super Bowl performance broadcast by Fox was the most watched Super Bowl halftime show of all time, with over 133.5 million viewers tuning in, more people than watched the game itself. Ah, shit. He said, man, these motherfuckers tuned in for the Super Bowl. And these motherfuckers watched the halftime performance more than the game. Hell no. How could this nobody-ass rapper achieve such greatness? He did crazy, man. So they just continue to talk about all the success that the Super Bowl performance has garnered. I don't really want to go through all this shit, man. This shit is, I said it was exhausting a couple minutes ago. I literally am exhausted. The agreement to censor the word PDF failed to cure the Super Bowl performance of conveying the recording's central defamatory meaning. Instead, the Super Bowl performance further solidified the public's belief in the truth of the allegations against Drake. Here they get into some more people on social media speaking about it. Sad that this thing is just chock full of fucking social media references, YouTube, and tweets. Crazy as fuck, man. Sorry for that slurp. I know that was out of pocket, but I'm thirsty. But seriously though, is anyone going to investigate Drake? Others called on Drake to unalive himself. Y'all took it too far, man. Took it way too far. Not y'all, but these people. Here we get into a whole new level of bullshit. I'm on a new level. So here they say UMG promoted the defamatory material through covert means to deceive consumers, right? So you see, they struck out the payments to third parties. But they're going to reiterate their whole shit in a new way. It's not that they took it out. They just restructured it. And this is what I told y'all was exactly going to happen. Some people said, no, they're going to take it out. It's already been disproven. You thought they was going to go out like that? Come on. In addition to publishing, marketing, blah, blah, blah. On information and belief, UMG directly or indirectly through its agents and making use of UMG resources conspired, paid, or caused payments to be made to unknown third parties to use bots to artificially inflate the spread of the recording on Spotify. At minimum, UMG was aware that third parties were using bots to stream the recording and turned a blind eye despite having the power to stop such behavior. We know what bots are. We don't got to get into that. In the original filing, they talked about how this guy went on Academic Stream and claimed that he did all this stuff to boost the song. That's now been stricken from the record. Okay? The desire to jumpstart the recording's popularity is unsurprising because streams beget more streams. Songs identified as top streamers land on most popular playlists, which leads to more streams. They also removed the talk of this whistleblower receiving payments. That has also been stricken from the record. Right? However, they do continue to expound on fake streams, which we know what those are. Publicly, Spotify has stated that it is aware of the use of bots on its platform and is actively working to address it. In response to Drake's pre-litigation filing in New York, Spotify explained that it invests heavily in automated and manual reviews to prevent, detect, and mitigate the impact of artificial streaming on its platform. This is for the amendment. Recently, Chart Data, which reports on music news, reported that Spotify has been removing botted streams from its platform over the last several months, which, if they're actively removing the streams and trying to correct the issue, how come Kendrick Lamar has not been affected? In June 2024, one podcast host stated, "Not only do I not care that he, as in Kendrick Lamar, used bots, but I knew he did." In a podcast clip posted to his YouTube channel on June 23rd, 2024, he continued, y'all don't know that Kendrick used bots? You thought that this was just the first time miraculously that a Drake record ever had more dislikes than likes? Or you didn't know that that was bots? Bots to me was part of how you win the war versus Drake. That is a quote from Joe Budden in his podcast. So now they're using literal theories from Joe Budden, whose show opens up with the thoughts and views in this podcast are not to be taken serious. It's for entertainment purposes only. It is now being used as bond in this lawsuit, as if Joe Budden would know what the fuck's going on with Kendrick's business. Especially the intimate nature of his business. Other online users exposed the marketing of the record through bots and payments to influencers. I told y'all, bro. Following plaintiffs' pre-action filings in New York and Texas state courts and subsequently deleted posts on November 24th, 2025, a social media user claimed to have knowledge of paid promotion of the recording. In response to a comment on X that Kendrick was buying promo, the user responded, was. The user continued that there was a slow-ass digital marketer paying to clown the suit, and that UMG would push blame to the digital marketer once the suit takes place after letting the paid promo fly for months. In other deleted posts, the user claimed that paid promo for pushing the lawsuit, Drake's lawsuit against UMG, was already happening and that the alleged digital marketer is psychotic. Again, who is these niggas? Y'all are, so if you go down, you see that they're quoting Poetic fucking Flacco. And he's supposed to be what? But again, this goes to show how far these niggas will go to be some hoes. Because what the fuck does Poetic Flacco know about niggas biting on Kendrick's song? Come on, dog. This shit is... Just keep going. Third parties have documented strange recommendations in searches on Spotify. On July 3rd, 2024, a user posted a video on X of a man typing Eminem into Spotify's search engine and the recording appearing as a suggested search result. The user captioned the post, "It doesn't matter what you search on Spotify, you'll see Not Like Us pop up. Spotify picked their side and the algorithm is proof." I don't know how many of y'all use Spotify, but you could tap and put in anybody's name and they'll show you a variety of different artists, song recommendations, album recommendations, etc. They're trying to help you get to your destination, but it's not foolproof. It's not perfect. The same thing you do with Eminem for Kendrick may also populate in Drake coming up. It's just the way their algorithm works. It's fucking AI algorithm. Anyway, since the initiation of this lawsuit, some Spotify users have raised concerns about the recording appearing in results when searching for new releases by Drake or for other artists. Relatedly, in the days following the release of Drake's new album, Some Sexy Songs for You, on February 14, 2025, some users reported not being able to find the release when searching on Spotify. So here they try to resort to, they're suppressing us while simultaneously pushing Kendrick further than ever. Okay, now look at these motherfuckers that they cited here. Keep Six Solid. This is a Drake stan page. Dom, Underrated Dom. This is a name I've seen on Twitter. I don't know if they're a stan page or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. OVO members, come the fuck on. Badness, Cool Mike 00. You got literal stan pages being cited here as arbiters of truth. On Information and Belief, UMG employed a similar scheme by paying social media influencers to promote and endorse the recording and video. As just one example, plaintiff understands that UMG paid directly or indirectly the popular NFR podcast to promote the recording and video without disclosing the payment. As part of its deal with UMG, the NFR podcast publicly published podcast episodes, tweets, and other contents about the recording. So they're saying that UMG paid off the NFR podcast to talk about Not Like Us. What do you mean by indirectly? Are you saying that because they may go on YouTube and talk about it and receive ad revenue for their views, that's an indirect payment from UMG? Because if that's what you're trying to say, you couldn't be more off base. Unless y'all can produce actual evidence of payments from UMG or UMG affiliates to the NFR podcast, and I don't even really like them, but come the fuck on. On Information and Belief, UMG calls Apple Inc. to have its, this is the Jeremy Hecht shit. Who gives a fuck? You say certified lover boy, it recognizes song lyrics, man. Let's not act stupid. Here they say UMG also offered financial incentives, including direct payments and reduced licensing rates to various third parties to promote the recording on the radio. Again, none of their allegations have been removed. From bots to payola, it's all still here. They've changed the language in which it's presented, but it's still here. Okay? The financial benefits were never disclosed to consumers, according to confidential sources made known to Drake. We would love to go ahead and submit it to Discovery. Certain UMG labels have engaged in pay-for-play arrangements with radio and streaming services to boost the popularity of specific songs. Drake has also received information that UMG engaged in a classic pay-for-play scheme by paying to increase the airplay of the recording on the radio, including stations in New York. Specifically, Drake has received information that at least one member of UMG's radio promotion team made payments to an independent radio promoter. All of this stuff, and paying radio promoters is not illegal, but whatever, man. Here he quotes Funkmaster Flex talking about the prices that are allotted for different radio arrangements. It's funny how he can know how much money goes into all of these, but then claims he's never accepted any of it for himself. February of this year, the FCC released an enforcement advisory regarding covert manipulation of airplay on radio stations following congressional interest in an alleged scheme of payola violations. Y'all remember this. I talked about this about a month ago. This is pertaining to people that get selected to perform at iHeartRadio events, and basically saying, you know, that favoritism plays a role. And that at times the labels may allow the artists to forego their actual show price in order to receive extra airplay on the radio. Right? So we've got a lot of this stuff taken out. Right? So this is bot talk. But again, you see how these are all stricken, but it's already been reissued above. So for the people saying it's not there, yes it is. It's just been reshaped. UMG took other unprecedented steps to promote the defamatory material. Okay, so here they get into YouTube creators, whitelisting. Remember we talked about that earlier. Here they go directly into reaction videos, right? We saw this the first time, Cartier Family, No Life Shack. They took the niggas, took some of their photos out. No Life Shack, Zeus, RDC, Kai Cenat. Okay, just wanted to see what they redline in here. So they're saying all of these people with these big platforms were financially incentivized to talk about Not Like Us on their channels, which we know is bullshit. Within days of UMG whitelisting the recording, content creators were thanking Lamar for lifting the copyright restrictions. Reactors Kai Cenat, No Life Shack, DJ Blank, No Spin, I Am Dante, John Denton have confirmed that UMG did not make efforts to copyright strike or otherwise demonetize their videos about the recording in the initial days following its release. So here they're basically saying that UMG allowed them to make money off of the song, which did happen. But when you own the copyright, you can do that. So I find that to be very interesting. Especially if they asked Kendrick himself, or if Kendrick himself, according to Back on Fig, went to the label and said, yo, I need this to be whitelisted for X amount of days. If the copyright owners of the song are in agreement, then you can do whatever you want with the song. But that doesn't actually constitute foul play. But I think Drake and his lawyers know that. They're just trying to beef up this weak ass thing. And for those that I know are going to be in the comments and in the chat saying, well, Drake turned around and did the same thing. Yeah, but while he's positioning himself as a victim, the fact that Kendrick did it first, he's going to say that he had no choice but to lift the copyright on his songs in order to keep up because they were employing foul play, right? Following week after the Super Bowl, the recording again reached #1 on Billboard's Top 100. So here we get into the success of Not Like Us following the Super Bowl. It increased in popularity by 430%. Okay, song has been heard over 9 billion times. As just a few examples of the content's broad reach, Joe Rogan discussed it on his podcast, as did NPR's podcast, Pop Culture Happy Hour. With every play, stream, listen, view, and mention, UMG has profited. I don't see how you can say that, bruh. If every play, stream, listen, view, and mention was profitable for UMG, then what about those whitelisted plays that didn't actually profit UMG? Contradictory, maybe? We'll continue. Y'all excuse my son in the background. UMG promoted the defamatory material with knowledge of reckless disregard for its falsity and knowledge that it was reasonably foreseeable to cause Drake harm. They should have known this was going to fuck him up. Okay, that's what Drake is saying. Boy. This shit just long for no reason. So on July 24th, Drake sent a letter to UMG and head of litigation about the song, Not Like Us. The letter demanded UMG to preserve its records in the event litigation was necessary and cautioned UMG that their involvement in perpetuating a false, inflammatory, and dangerous conspiracy theory about him was shocking and tortious under a variety of laws of both Canada and US. Okay, so he put them on notice to say, bitch, we finna go to war. Save all your evidence. Following a telephone call between counsel for the parties July 31st of last year, UMG sent the letter to Drake's reps in which UMG represented that it understood its preservation obligation and warned that it would be improvident of Drake to pursue these claims. They saying, you bark up this tree, it will fall on you, okay? August 1st, 2024, Drake sent UMG another letter emphasizing his harm as well as his business was experiencing that UMG was causing by continuing to promote Not Like Us. The letter demanded UMG issue a retraction, okay? So in August, he said, man, y'all need to take that shit down immediately. This is going too bad. UMG's actions did not change after receiving 2 notices from Drake about the falsity of the allegations and a description of the severe harm he has suffered. UMG took no steps to address the matter. To the contrary, UMG continued to promote and license the song through numerous social media posts boasting of the success and allowing it to be to be nominated at the Grammys and win, and also be played at the Super Bowl. Throughout the summer and fall, Drake attempted to resolve these claims privately without resorting to litigation. UMG's own code of conduct required corrective action on UMG's part. That code states that UMG is committed to a nonviolent workplace and that harassment could take different forms, such as speech that is threatening or abusive. He felt he was being abused verbally. They said, fuck you, okay? Drake expected UMG will live by its own principles and responded to the abusive conduct, threats, and violence he had experienced. Yet after weeks of delay, UMG declined to do anything to assist Drake, including even going so far as refusing to agree to mediate with him. UMG instead insisted that it bore no responsibility for the harm Drake had suffered and represented that if Drake sued UMG, UMG would respond by bringing claims against Kendrick Lamar and intimated that Drake would face public ridicule for the perception that he had sued another rapper. They didn't lie to you. They ain't lied to you. At no point during any of these discussions did UMG ever suggest that it believed the allegations against Drake to be truthful or accurate. As of the date of filing, UMG continues to promote and license. Okay. UMG's actions were motivated, at least in part, by their desire to best position itself in negotiations with Kendrick in 2024 and Drake in 2025. With respect to Lamar, on information and belief, UMG was incentivized to prove that it could maximize Lamar's sales by any means necessary after only being able to get him to sign a short-term exclusive contract. UMG wanted Lamar to see its value on expedited time frame in order to convince him to re-sign exclusively for a longer period of time. As to Drake in 2024, his contract was nearing fulfillment. On information and belief, UMG anticipated that extending Drake's contract would come at a high cost. As such, it was incentivized to devalue Drake's music. So basically, they're saying that both Drake and Kendrick's contracts were set to be renegotiated in a pretty close proximity, and they wanted to prove their worth to Kendrick while also finding a way to lowball Drake. So they say that this was the perfect storm for them to come together and put this plan in action to fuck him over and make him re-sign a deal that wouldn't be favorable financially. And as much as I wanted to avoid a fucking 2-hour video, here we are nearing in on 2 hours. Ain't this about a bitch? I really don't give a fuck about this thing, man. Is there anything else in here that's relevant to the conversation? This is a lot of stricken conversation here that's been repurposed, rewritten. So here they get into some of the alleged financial hardship. They say because Drake's reputation is closely related to that of the companies he owns, the reputation of Drake's brand OVO has also been harmed. For example, when a collaboration with Disney was announced in February of 2025, Instagram users commented, "Disney collab, skull emoji. Yes, little kids, Aubrey is coming for you. PDF Aubrey looking for new ways to reach the children." And child actor turned child lover. The reputational harm caused Drake financial harm in an amount to be proven at trial. So I guess at the trial, he's going to expose how much money he's lost due to this sort of corporate distancing from him, right? So they were supposed to do a deal with Disney. Niggas started getting on their head top. I guess he lost that opportunity. UMG knew or should have known that the statements it published about him would cause substantial harm, as the statements are inflammatory. Oh, boy. The online harassment and reputation of the allegations have endured and have been revitalized by UMG's persistent efforts to promote the defamatory material, including at the Grammys and Super Bowl. The overwhelming public commentary repeating the allegations against Drake, calling for intervention by the FBI and law enforcement, and spewing racist and hateful messages have caused Drake emotional distress, including in the forms of alarm and annoyance. Mr. Unbothered seems to be quite bothered. While UMG's initial publications and promotions of the defamatory material may have been motivated by legitimate business purposes, UMG ceased being legitimately motivated. UMG's actions had no legitimate purpose, at least as of August 1st, 2024, because all publications and promotions after that date were made following Drake's informing UMG about the harm the defamatory material was causing him and retraction demand. Oh, boy. Drake was also harmed as a music consumer. UMG's covert promotional tactics and promotion of the success of the defamatory material based on those tactics deceived all consumers of music, including Drake. He said he was they said this nigga was deceived as well. How? Because of the illegitimate streaming, right? Again, they're talking about payments to Spotify. Although Spotify was dropped from his lawsuit, dropped from his petition, he's still claiming they took money for illegitimate promotion. So it's just wasting our fucking time. First claim, defamation per se, okay? And of course, he's claiming that Not Like Us is calling him a PDF all through it. Therefore, it's defamatory. Okay. Second claim, harassment in the second degree. Now, I do believe this is actually a criminal claim. Plaintiff incorporates and realleges all preceding paragraphs. UMG engaged. Harassment is crazy. Third claim, violation of New York general business law. I believe this is in relation to payola. Yep. Still saying payola, just not using it in a broad term. Prayer for relief. Plaintiff prays for judgment. Surprise, he prays for anything. For judgment against UMG for each of the causes of action caused herein. Plaintiff respectfully requests a judgment in his favor against UMG for nominal damages, compensatory damages, including general, actual, consequential, and special damages in an amount to be determined at trial. So again, for people that wonder how much money does Drake want, we do not know. That will be determined at trial if they ever make it to or through trial to determine such a thing. Punitive damages, reasonable and necessary attorney fees, reasonable and necessary costs of the suit, pre-judge and post-judgment interest at the highest lawful rates, they say. Declaratory relief stating that the statements published and promoted by UMG and those attributable to UMG as reasonably foreseeable republications identified within the complaint. Injunctive relief enjoining UMG from making statements about the popularity of the recording, further promotion, despite knowing that it's false, and pay for play. Okay, so that is the amended complaint from Aubrey, Laubry, Drake, Graham. So now UMG has released a statement in response. They have not responded legally, right? Because they now have the ball in their court. I believe they have 21 days to respond with their request for dismissal. However, of course, they're not going to just jump out there and put that out there. They got to respond to all of the things in Drake's lawsuit. But here is their statement and their warning. They say, Drake, unquestionably one of the world's most accomplished artists, and with whom we've enjoyed a 16-year successful relationship, is being misled by his legal representatives into taking one absurd legal step after another. So they're blaming Drake's legal team for misadvising him. In Texas last November, his counsel instituted a legal proceeding with much fanfare and bluster. On Monday, they quietly dropped the case. Okay? So that petition out there in Texas dropped, right? Completely. In New York in January, Drake's counsel filed a defamation lawsuit. Fearful of being sanctioned by the court for asserting false allegations, tonight they amended the complaint to withdraw them only to add more baseless allegations. Okay? So they only added more shit. They didn't take nothing. They just added more shit. They took a couple things out, rephrased it, and placed blame in other directions. They removed academics and replaced it with Joe Budden. What the fuck? Okay. 2 weeks ago, his representative celebrated a win, the granting of a routine discovery motion. That win will become a loss if this frivolous and reckless lawsuit is not dropped in its entirety, because Drake will personally be subject to discovery as well. Now that's so they're going to say, if you open up this can of worms, we're going to have to pull your card as well. And this is where things can get messy. They say here, as the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for. Both the Texas and New York proceedings are an affront to all artists and creative expression. Should his legal representative senselessly keep the New York lawsuit alive, we will demonstrate that all remaining claims are without merit. It is shameful that these foolish and frivolous legal theatrics continue. They are reputationally and financially costly to Drake and have no chance of success. It hit his ass with the "you can't win." Oh, man. You've seen him. You see how strong it is. You can't win. So UMG is saying, if you continue to pursue this, we are going to out you. Now, remember, in their last, response, in their opposition or whatever, their motion to dismiss, they started pulling articles of Drake being looked at for weird activity. They also pulled up Drake's proclivities for rap battles, dissing people, and his own variations of defamatory content towards others. They tried to use this as a tactic to back them down. Drake says, "I'm standing 10 toes." So now they're saying, okay, you're going to force us to open up Pandora's box, and we will destroy you. That's what they're saying. You step further into this puddle, we're going to put your ass in quicksand and destroy you. And Drake has already played his hand. So I think he's saying, bitch, try me. Now, as unentertaining as that 100 and something page amended complaint was, I think that may be the longest filing that we get moving forward outside of UMG's motion to dismiss, which will be due in a couple weeks. But this shit finna get very entertaining if the discovery is actually made public. I don't know if they're gonna try to seal this shit to try to, protect as much of it as possible, or if this is gonna continue to stay public record. But if it's public record, shit is about to get digital. Strap on your motherfucking seatbelts. Okay? Now that we've gotten all that out the way, let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I will be back shortly with more content. Y'all just keep it locked, man. 2-hour fucking video. I am pissed. I'll catch y'all later, though. All for the love of the game and love for the insiders. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rags. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more to survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they died of me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross them out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.